In the American education system, children with disabilities receive special services to assist them. Every case is different, and every child is different. This is Sydney's story.
Okay, so how long have you been working at Madison High School, and how long have you been specifically working with Sydney?
I started working at Madison High School 3 years ago, teaching students with cognitive disabilities, and I have 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. This is my first year working with Sydney Galinsky.
How long have you known Sydney?
Well, I tell you, I grew up here, and Melinda sure didn't. I've known the Galinsky family for all of my life. In fact, Sydney's mom and my aunt were best friends all throughout school, which means I've known Sydney since she was born. I remember her parents taking her down to town events in a baby stroller when I was in 8th grade. Everyone in town had felt so sorry for them. Sydney has Down syndrome and has had so many health problems throughout her life.
What are the main concerns being addressed with Sydney?
Sydney is experiencing sexual urges and feelings towards males in which she does not understand. Even though she has a 4 to 5 year old mentality, she is still experiencing physical changes in her body as she becomes a young woman. The hugging with Alan Sears has made it okay in Sydney's mind to hug any young man she meets, even if she does not know him. To me, this raises concerns and opens the door for potential sexual abuse for Sydney. She doesn't have the cognitive skills to understand that she is simply interested in boys, and therefore someone needs to teach her the right way to act upon these feelings.
Has anything ever happened between you and Sydney that has made you feel uncomfortable?
Well, the only time that I ever felt uncomfortable was when Sydney stopped me in the hallway and showed me her new bra that she was wearing. When other students began to laugh, she became very embarrassed and quickly pulled her shirt down. She knew it was a mistake, though, and she won't do it again.
Do you ever discourage Sydney from behaving inappropriately for her age?
Not really. I mean, I did tell her she was too old to hold hands with her teachers once.
What do you think about Sydney's relationship with Mr. Sears?
Alan Sears seems to be a nice kid. He's only been teaching 1 year, but he seems to really enjoy teaching. However, he still thinks that teachers can be friends also. They call him the man, and frankly, I think that's out of place. But he doesn't realize what he's doing with Sydney. It's not that Sydney hugs him, it's that she's starting to hug every young man she meets. I've had to discuss the appropriateness of touching yourself once this year. If I told Alan Sears that, he would probably be so embarrassed that he'd never speak to me again. I know her crush is harmless, and I know that Alan isn't interested in Sydney, but this is not proper social behavior. The fact that Sydney pulled up her shirt in the middle of the hall to show Alan her new bra was just the final straw.
How do you think Miss Melinda Phelps is handling the situation?
Look, she is blowing the whole thing out of proportion. I know that she's been teaching a lot longer than I have, but she doesn't know Sydney the way I do. I think Melinda needs to loosen up and treat Sydney like the kid she really is.
What do you think should be done to implement appropriate behavior with Sydney Galinsky?
People are underestimating her intelligence. She has to learn to interact appropriately with men. It has to start with the men in her life, such as Alan Sears telling her what is inappropriate. Why can't Sydney give him a high five instead of a hug? Why can't he talk to her about inappropriate behavior? I've tried, but if he doesn't follow through, it's a waste of time. She needs to learn to act as a sexually mature young woman and not a 5-year-old girl.